Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
This is The Roger Stone Show.
Welcome back. This is Roger Stone, and this is The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Audio Network, where we talk, politics, news, history, culture, food, you name it. And I'm really very happy to be joined now by Nick Adams. If you don't know who Nick Adams is, well, maybe you're not on X, formerly known as Twitter, where he is known as Nick Adams, the Alpha Male. Nick is a terrifically talented writer. He writes with, I think, some tongue-in-cheek satirical frame that I find makes me laugh out loud, but he's an outspoken patriot. He was a presidential appointee, best-selling author. Particularly liked his book on Churchill and Trump and leadership. He has an interesting personal story we're going to ask him, but he's also doing yeoman's work as the founder and leader of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, also known as FLAG, which is doing something which unfortunately most of the public schools are not doing, and that is teaching more than 1.6 million school-age children about our actual history, our heritage, our founding documents, our Constitution. And it is amazing what is not taught in the schools today. He is a delightful dinner companion. He is a strong supporter of the president, and indeed among President Donald Trump's favorite authors. Nick Adams, the Alpha Male. Thanks for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
Good afternoon, Roger. It's a pleasure to be with you and your listeners. I always enjoy your company. I think the only thing you might have left out there is that I am a huge fan of Roger Stone, have been for a very long time, and I'm delighted to have formed a friendship with you and to be learning a lot about politics and life from you.
Well, there are very few men whose patriotism impresses me like yours does, but there are also very few men who can write and make important points in a satirical manner sometimes. I mean, I don't think you really only drink domestic beer, but I could be wrong about that. In any event, Nick, people can obviously hear that you have an accent. Tell people your life story and how you came to be a proud American.
Roger, I like to joke that I was an American trapped inside an Australian body for the first 32 years of my life. I was always a proudly individual person. I didn't like to conform. I didn't like to go along to get along. I had quite a bit of success early in life in Australia academically, and I got elected as one of the youngest ever elected councilmen in the Sydney area at the age of 19, the first election I ever voted in. In fact, I voted for myself. It's all been downhill since then. And then a few days after I turned 21, on the 13th of September 2005, I became the youngest deputy mayor in Australian history in Sydney. a record which still stands to this day. But it was kind of at that point, with such success so early, which is not really meant to happen, particularly in a society like Australia, that my problems began, and people in my own party started resenting me, people in the media started going after me, and there's kind of a reason, I think, that all of your listeners will know that every single person that they might know from another country that is famous doesn't live in Australia or that particular country. They live in the US, and that's because this is the place where success is still admired and aspired to and not resented. This is the place where people celebrate success, celebrate people that have some chutzpah and determination, and if they can't get through the door, then they try and find a little window or some other way to get through. And that very much kind of sums up who I am and what I was like. So when I came over to the US, I didn't know anybody. I went on a speaking tour, and I fell in love with America, and Americans fell in love with me. And then I had to start the whole process of immigrating legally to the country, which I did. It was very long. It cost me a lot of money. I even spent time on a no-fly list, courtesy of the Obama administration and John Kerry's State Department, starting in October of 2015, when my already approved extraordinary ability green card was returned to the US with a recommendation for that approval to be revoked without any reasons provided to me ever. And if it wasn't for the assistance of several senators and US congressmen, who I was very fortunate to know only because of my line of work as a national speaker and conservative commentator, I wouldn't have had that injustice overturned. And on the 29th of July 2016, I finally immigrated to the US. So I recently celebrated 8 years in America, and I'm about, Roger, to turn 40 years old in a matter of 10 or so days. So big milestones this year, and I hope it gets capped off on the 5th of November with a great victory for America's finest president ever. But since coming here, I've just had blue skies. I've been very, very blessed to live the American dream. I've worked really, really hard. I've risked a lot. I came to the country with just a dream and a speech, and I managed to become a multiple best-selling author and have a huge organization that teaches children about the American dream and the Constitution, and become a presidential appointee, have fun on X, have over 3.5 million followers on social media. Every dream I've ever really wanted has come to fruition in this country, and I think that says a lot more about this nation and its culture than me. But I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm going to continue to serve the United States in any and every capacity that I possibly can, Roger.
So, Nick, let's talk to your mission at the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. I really, whenever a student group, whether it's young Republicans, college Republicans, or some more conservative universities, or even some cases high schools, ask me to speak, I always say yes. I do it without honorarium. I usually do it at my own expense because I think it's important. But what shocks me is that young people today have never been told America's great history. In fact, what they've been told is a set of politically correct lies that, well, white people are the problem of all the are the source of all the problems in the country. When in fact, progress has been made in this country by people of all races working together. It is outrageous, the distortions that are told in the public schools. My good friend Sam Sorbo, who's an expert on public education and an advocate for private education, homeschooling, is very articulate on this subject. But I would go to a college and say Abraham Lincoln in my remarks, and nobody knows who that is. I said Barry Goldwater once to a Republican club, young Republican club at a university. Nobody had a clue who I was talking about. They don't know about what is in the Constitution, what's in the Declaration of Independence, what's in the Bill of Rights. They don't know how the country was founded. You have mounted what began as a one-man effort to change that, and through the support of tens of thousands of Americans who have generated generously, you're changing that. So we've got about 2 minutes before we go to break. Tell us about that, and then we'll be back with more of the Alpha Male. Go on X right now, folks, and find Nick Adams at the Alpha Male. You won't be sorry. We'll be right back with Nick Adams, who is, as I say, the head of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, FLAG, a nonprofit organization that seeks to teach young people what America's greatness came from. It's selfless work. Nick, you have worked extraordinarily hard. You've also written 3 amazing books. President Donald Trump was so impressed with Nick Adams that after he read one of his books, he appointed him to the board of the Smithsonian Institute for a 6-year term, which is great because ultimately the Smithsonian can acquire the original Roger Stone Did Nothing Wrong t-shirt, which I'm sure they're going to want to display there at some point. Folks, we'll be right back with Nick Adams right here at the Red Apple Audio Network. Please don't go away.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
And we're back. This is Roger Stone, and this is the Roger Stone Show. I'm here with Nick Adams, who online at X can be found as the Alpha Male, but in his real-time job is the founder and head of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, where he's done an extraordinary job of helping educate more than 1.6 million American school children. His work has been recognized by governors in Arizona, Texas, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Arkansas, and South Carolina. And his great service to the country was noted in 2023 in the Congressional Record. He is a member of the board of the Smithsonian's, as I said. Nick, let's talk some politics. What do you think of that Democrat National Convention?
Well, I watched it, Roger, only because I had to. I suspect, much like many of your listeners, I would have preferred to have done just about anything else. But I did watch it, and it is, I guess, important for us to know what the other side is doing and saying and messaging so that we can appropriately counteract what they do. Look, I was struck by how fake and phony and false and awful and nasty all of the people there were speaking on the stage. It was the lies that were being told were just incredible. I mean, they're breathtaking. And I know that they all think that it was a great success. I don't think the people out there, Roger, are going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. I certainly hope not. You had Michelle Obama, and look, the Obamas are very talented people, but they are also very anti-American, and they are very socialist, and they are not good for the country. They're not good for America's future. And if we want to make 270 or more, 300 years as a superpower, then we certainly don't need their kind and their kind of ideology in the White House or anywhere near national leadership, to be honest with you. So, look, I think this is her high watermark. I think her honeymoon is ending. I like what happened with RFK in Glendale on Friday afternoon. The size of that crowd was just incredible. So I'm very optimistic that President Trump is going to win. It will be close, there's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, if you just have a look at the last two elections, even though it shouldn't be close, Roger, as you and I well know, I think President Trump should win all 50 states. But realistically, we know that it's going to come down to about 40,000 votes spread over 4 or 5 states. And that's why every vote counts. That's why the RFK endorsement was dynamite. And we need to keep working each and every single day, every second of them, to make sure that he is returned as the 47th president, because I'm not quite sure that this country that I moved to, this country that I love, this country that I fight for, can survive a Kamala Harris, Tampon Tim presidency.
What I don't understand is whether the mainstream media is capable of mass hypnosis to try to persuade people that Kamala Harris is not at least partially responsible for our current condition. The idea that she would pledge to hire hundreds of new border security agents, crack down, her words, and seal the border, when undeniably she was in charge of the border policy that has let over 20 million, in my opinion, illegals into the country, a disproportionate number of young Chinese and Middle Eastern military age, single men. This has caused a fentanyl epidemic because we know that the cartels, with the financial assistance of the Chinese, who manufacture the chemicals necessary to make fentanyl in their labs in China, ship them to Mexico, where the cartels sell their wares, where the cartels take them to their labs, make the fentanyl, sell it across the border, and then launder the money for the Chinese. This is happening. For her to suddenly wake up, here's an idea, that we should have no tax on tips. Now, this shows you the political genius of Donald Trump, and here's why. In Nevada, where election integrity is a very serious issue, where the Senator Harry Reid machine, in an alliance with the Culinary Union, which is the union that represents all of the hotel, casino, and restaurant workers in Las Vegas and in Reno, has been the backbone of the Democrat machine. They also obviously go out and register a number of questionable voters. In Nevada, every candidate, every voter is mailed a mail-in ballot, whether they ask for one or not. I gave a speech there, Nick, in Las Vegas before the last presidential election. I met a man who showed me 5 ballots. They were all mailed to him at the same address, but not to him. Each one was addressed to a different person. Only one of them was addressed to him. And I said, what is this? He said, well, this is the mail-in ballot they sent me and the mail-in ballot for the 4 previous tenants of my apartment, none of whom have been removed from the voter rolls, but none of whom I can even forward mail to anymore because they're either dead or they don't live in the state anymore. So the proposal to remove the tax on tips is absolute pure genius, and it makes perfect sense from a legal point of view, because tips are a gratuity. Gifts are not taxed under the IRS code, unless they get, I think, beyond a certain amount. But when you tip a service employee for good service, you're not paying for the food and you're not paying their wages. So I don't see why they should be taxed. Kamala Harris thinks that she can just pluck this out of the air as if it was her idea and to try to neutralize Donald Trump on the issues. Then you've got wage and price controls. Believe me, we tried that under President Richard Nixon. I would have to tell you, probably among his greatest mistakes. She's talking about trying it again. And then, of course, $25,000 to anybody who's in the country, both illegally and legally, I think, who wants to purchase a home but has no ability to service a mortgage on that home. We tried this once before in America. It didn't work. So her whole prescription, particularly her prescription for a capital gains tax treatment in which you would pay taxes on capital gains you haven't actually realized. So if you had a home that was worth $500,000 and they determined that it was now worth $750,000, but you didn't sell it, you still lived in it, you're still taxed against the paper gain as opposed to being taxed correctly at the time you sold the home. This is beyond belief.
Yes, it really is, Roger. It really is. And it just shows you how brilliant Donald Trump is and how dishonest Kamala Harris is. These guys will do anything to win. I don't think they will be successful. We're going to make sure, Roger, that Donald Trump is the next president. We're going to push hard for it. I hope he takes your counsel. You're a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. And that's really what needs to happen here over the next 70 or so days.
Oh, that's very, very kind. My good friend, Nick Adams. Check him out on X, the Alpha Male. Also, check out the Flag Foundation. They're doing incredible work. Nick Adams, thanks for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
It's a pleasure.